I have a separate video on how Arabs are from Arabia and Jews are from Judea. This is a follow-on to this video about how Aryans are from Iran. A fun fact, the country we now call Iran, or Iran if that's how you roll, was known as Persia from the time of Cyrus the Great, about 600 BC to 1935. Another fun fact, the language they speak there is still called Farsi, and the Gulf is still the Persian Gulf. It's easy to find online advocacy that says Iran is the true ancient pre-colonial name. As far as I can tell, the first time Iran came up in diplomacy or cartography was in 1935. In 1935, Reza Shah decided to capitalize on the rising Aryan brand in Germany. German romantics had wanted a longer history than they had. They especially wanted to shed the Hun and barbarian image, the image of destroyers of Rome. So they decided to trace their lineage to ancient Aryans, spelling be damned. By 1935, they looked very spiffy in their new uniforms, and Reza Shah wanted to remind everyone that he was king of the original Aryans before all that cultural appropriation by the Germans. After World War II, his son Muhammad Reza Shah decided that the brand had outlived its usefulness and went back to Persia, but only half-heartedly. For instance, one of his formal titles was Arimir, which literally translates to light of the Aryans. And the names are funny that way. To be fair, everyone I know who's actually lived there describes the Muhammad Reza years as the most enlightened in the country's history. There was free press, freedom of religion, freedom of movement, and economic prosperity. It's hard to imagine now, but the relations with Israel were excellent. Student exchanges were a thing, and Israel imported oil and exported construction materials. Then the Islamic Revolution happened, and the country's name reverted to Iran firmly and militantly. Some years ago in San Francisco, I was talking to a woman who had been born in Tehran, and I asked a question about her childhood there, and I used the adjective Persian. Iranian just never really rolled off my tongue. She was furious. She scolded me for using an imperialist name instead of the real native one. I was younger and more impressionable then, and I felt ashamed of myself. All these years later, and with a slightly better understanding of her country's modern history, I understand that her beef was with the Shah's empire rather than anyone in the West. The Pahlavis, like monarchies everywhere, presented an alternative both to communism and to Islam. They wanted to base their glory on continuity with the old pre-Islamic Persian Empire. They saw themselves as heirs to a tradition of enlightened monarchy. They made much of the Cyrus Cylinder, holding it up as the first document of human rights anywhere in the world. The socialists who wanted to abolish the monarchy, and the Islamists who eventually did, wanted nothing to do with this imperial past. On this point, my friend, the daughter of socialists who tried to flee the Islamic Revolution, was oddly aligned with the Islamists in insisting Iran was the only legitimate name for her country. And so, in their disdain for constitutional monarchy, the Islamists reverted to a name their predecessors had dug up to capitalize on Nazi propaganda value.